Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video at the world of AI. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing you guys LangChain, which is a framework specifically designed for developing applications that are powered by language models. Now, before we actually get into the gist of what we're going to be doing, let me just give you a breakdown of today's video. I'm going to be explaining you guys what is LangChain, what are the purposes of actually using LangChain, and how it can be actually beneficial for you. I'm also going to be getting started and showing you guys a walkthrough of how you can actually start using LangChain to actually create your own language model applications, getting a better understanding of the several components that actually give support to the actual framework of LangChain by going through some of the 7 modules that they have, going over some of the use cases, and basically installing it onto your local desktop so that you can get a better understanding, as well as how you can actually start using this beautiful platform to start working with different chains, as well as using it to actually model and create your own applications. So before we actually get into the whole video guys, I would highly recommend and would definitely appreciate it if you guys can go subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and like this video guys, as it will definitely help the algorithm. And if you guys haven't seen any of my previous videos, there's a lot of content that is catered to a huge wide variety of like specifically in the AI world, so I highly recommend that you go check it out. With that thought, let's get right into the video. So as I talked about at the start, LangChain is a framework specifically designed for developers and applications to produce such language models. Now, unlike traditional applications that rely on a user and predefined rules to operate, LangChain, on the other hand, allows for a more sophisticated level of integration where the application can connect with other sources of data and also interact with the whole environment. Now, LangChain's framework is based off of 2 core principles, which is being data aware as well as being agentic. Now, what this means is that the framework can connect a language model to the other sources of data, enabling it to and incorporate the data in its decision-making process. This makes LangChain particularly useful for applications that need a large analysis of datasets or more complex predictions based off of multiple variables. On the other hand, being agentic means that the framework allows the language model to interact with its environment, thereby enabling it to take action based off its analysis of the data. This feature makes LangChain very useful in certain cases for applications that require decision-making and autonomous actions, such as chat boxes and virtual assistants. This is why this platform is very useful for a lot of people, and I highly recommend that you definitely use it. So what are actually the purposes of LangChain? Well, it's to provide a framework for building applications powered by language models. And this is something that you can see off of GitHub as so many different contributors as to using as well as building off of basically LangChain and creating more powerful and differentiated applications that can actually connect language models to other sources of data. And this basically allows them to actually interact with their own environment. Now, LangChain offers modules for working with language models, prompts, memories, indexes, chains, and agents, as well as integration with other tools, and provides a huge way, as well as an easier way for different developers to build end-to-end language model applications. And this is something that we're going to be looking at later on in the video. Now, what can it help with? We can see this on the Git over here. So they've actually stated that there's 6 areas that LangChain helps designed to help with. Now, these are in increasing order of complexity. We can see over here that the first is being LLMs. And basically, these models basically include various model types and model integration that LangChain actually supports, and provides examples as well as references to documentation to actually help developers get started. Now, the prompt module focuses on the prompt management and optimizes as well as sterilizes and includes how-to guides for conceptual guides to help developers efficiently use prompts in their application. For their memory, you're able to have a centered topic as well as a concept of persisting state between calls of a chain and an agent. And this basically provides for a standard interface for memory, a collection of memory, implementation, as well as examples of chain/agents that use memory. Now, the indices also covers a huge practice for combining language models with text data, which can enhance the power of the modules by optimizing two different chains as well as two LLMs to get you the best results. Now for the chain module, it goes beyond a single language model call and instead focuses on sequences of calls, whether to an LLM or a different utility. Now LangChain provides a standard interface for chains, several integrations with other tools, and an end-to-end chain for common applications. Lastly, with its agent module, it involves an LLM making decision about which actions to actually take, seeing an observation and repeating that until it's done. LangChain basically provides a standard interface for agents, and it selects the agents to choose from an example of an end-to-end agent. Overall, these are like some of the modules that you can see, as well as a powerful toolkit for developers to use to advance language model applications using LangChain basically. And later on, we're going to be showing you guys how you can actually install it. And now that we get a better understanding of the use cases as well as the purpose of LangChain, now we can actually move on to the next stage, in which we will be now moving forward with the installation part. Before actually moving on to the other part of the video, I wanted to emphasize a little bit more as to what LangChain has accomplished with this framework, as well as its toolkit. In terms of the tools that can be used for basically anything in the artificial general intelligence world, you're able to use these tools to actually generate certain articulated responses with chat boxes, as well as certain applications that you might be using with your large language model. And basically it uses APIs as well as tool sets from LangChain to actually formulate what you're trying to accomplish. Another thing I wanted to focus on was the memory aspect. We can see that you're able to get a better understanding of the meaning as well as how it's able to collect as well as use certain data sets on certain chains, and that is something else that I wanted to focus on. Another great feature is how LangChain utilizes some of its guides on how you can actually utilize certain things, as well as tools and certain LLMs that are correlated with LangChain, and they have a great in-depth way that is made for you to show you how you can actually utilize all the functions as well as the tools that they provide. So I'll leave the link down in the description below, but this is just a tutorial that gives you a walkthrough about building an end-to-end language model application with LangChain, which is said on their page, and this is just a quick start guide on how you can actually do so. Personally, for me, I downloaded all the codes onto a separate file using Visual Studio Code. This is obviously another like basic code editor that you can use, as it's more appealing to my eyes. So this is just something that I'm going to be using to actually demonstrate, as well as showing you guys how you can install it locally on your desktop. So first things first, in terms of going over the overview, so basically you can install LangChain, OpenAI, Cohere, Hugging Face, as well as these other components that will basically make the structure of your framework of your language model. And basically you can click run. Obviously you can also use it through Google Colab, which some people have actually uploaded, and I can share the links to those collabs so that you don't have to install it locally onto your desktop and you can run it through a server. One thing to also note that these are just the packages that you're going to be using. Obviously, if you don't want to install certain packages like Cohere, you don't need to do so. But if you're going to be utilizing all of them, then I would highly recommend that you click through and use the packages. This is obviously the LLM that you're going to be utilizing, and these are going to be the OpenAI keys. So, I mean, not OpenAI keys, sorry, the API keys. So first, if you're going to be utilizing the OpenAI key, you would want to paste it over here by getting it on through the OpenAI website, API key website. For the Hugging Face API token, you would want to get the cookie as well as the token and paste it over here. Serapi is the Google Search API key, which is utilizing Google Search for searching for data sets as well as data structures. So you would have to paste the API key over here. Cohere also has one over here. And if you're utilizing any other API structure, you would have to input the environment and paste the API key for it. Moving on with the integrations of different large language models, these are some of the lists of different LLMs that is provided with LangChain. Personally, we have OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. You have Hugging Face Hub, which is utilizing a huge basic data set of different things. You have a lot of different other aspects as well as LLMs that you could be utilized to actually basically create the framework of LangChain basically. In terms of installing the one that you want, obviously there's different ones like LLMs over here that you can install, but if you want to install a specific one, you can obviously just click play with whatever one that you want, and you can run the model through that LLM. Basically, if you want to install more than one, you can definitely install and add code by replicating it through different codes lines, and you can replicate integrate any of these LLMs that you want. You can even integrate all of them, and you can just print it over here, and basically you can run any text file and it will basically generate it through any of the LLMs. So for example, in this case there's a text here, and you can, if you want to run it through ChatGPT 3 or 4, you can basically run it by clicking play, and it will basically start articulating the response by using the integrated LLM, and that's going to be a great way for you to use different LLMs to formulate certain things. And the great thing about this, guys, is that this whole LangChain is basically open source, so that's one of the great things that can be accessible to anyone and be utilized through a lot of bigger chains. Moving on to the next step, the question answering with external documents. Now basically what this is, that it's an external document which is a common use case for language models, and LangChain provides several modules and tools that can facilitate this task basically. Now one of the ways that you can approach question answering with the external documentation is to use indexes module, which allows you to integrate your own text data with the language model. Now this module provides the best practices for indexing as well as search data, text data, and this will basically help build a more powerful as well as a more accurate question answering system. Now to get started with this, you need to first create an index of your own text data, obviously using tools of certain kinds that would actually help you do so. Now this index would basically allow you to quickly search through your data to find relevant passages with given a question. Now once you're able to do that, having your index set up, you can use the chain module, which is to create a sequence of calls that will retrieve and rank the most relevant passages for a given question. This could also involve making an initial call to the language model to get a set of candidate questions, then using the index to find relevant passage to match those answers, and finally ranking the passage based off the relevance of the original question. And obviously this is going to be requiring you to take this approach with the different modules such as agent, chains, and index to basically formulate your question answering with external documents. There's a lot of documents and guides on how you can actually do so on the LangChain platform, but this is just a basic generic idea of how you can actually set it up, as well as get a better idea on what you can do with this actual module. In terms of uploading the document, you can upload it onto your visual editor, and basically you can input the file name so that it can import the data so that it's using it to actually help you with the question answering aspect of it. Now moving on to the keep memory part. Now in LangChain, memory is a concept of persisting state between calls of chains as well as agents. Now this allows the language model to maintain information and context over multiple interactions with the user. Now LangChain provides a standard interface for memory, which is a collection of memory implementation and examples of chains/agents that use memory. Now to install this, you're going to use memory in LangChain. You got to do the stuff that we've done at the start, which you need to pip install the actual properties to actually run and have the language models run through keeping your memory. You need to also import the memory modules from LangChain, and once you're able to do that, you have to create an instance of memory and pass it through your chain or agent basically. Now you can use the memory to store as well as retrieve information and interactions between certain data sets as well as certain codes. Now for core memory, this is going to be the file that you input to save certain memory with interactions with AI. Go more in depth now. Basically, the first line imports the OpenAI LLM from the language.chain LLMs module. Now the second line basically imports the prompt template class from the actual LangChain prompt module, which is used to generate prompts that are passed through the actual LLM to generate responses. Now the third line imports the conversation chain class from the actual LangChain.chains module. Now this is used to actually define a conversation chain that allows the sequence to go back and forth with the actual AI, as well as the human that is actually interacting with the AI. Now the fourth line actually imports the conversation buffer window memory, the actual conversation summary memory, which you can see over here, as well as the combined memory classes. And what this is from is the LangChain memory module. And these classes are used to define the different types of memories that can be used in the conversation chain, including short-term memory that stores recent exchanges, summary memory that captures the key points of a conversation, and a combined memory that integrates both types of memory. The next few lines defines a specific memory configuration that will be used for the conversation chain, including the conversation memory or the conversation buffer window memory, which stores the recent chat history lines, and the conversation summary memory, which generates a summary of the actual conversation. And basically when you give it a default, this is just a template, but when you're able to give it a talkative statement, you get the history of it, obviously, that is inputted after, the current conversation, as well as what the human put, and this is what the AI responds with. The next set of line defines the default conversation template that is used to generate the prompts that will be passed through the actual LLM. Now the prompt variable is actually defined with the prompt template class, which includes in the input variable, which we talked about over here in the history, the input, which is from the human, and the chat history lines from the output of the AI. Now the LLM variable is defined by the instances of the OpenAI LLM class with the temperature of 0, which basically gives the creativity as well as the response of the actual artificial response that you tend to get. And finally, the conversation chain is defined from the LLM, memory, and the prompt configurations, and basically is set to be true to print out the conversation as it unfolds. Moving on to the next phase of the module of LangChain, which is the actual chain. And these are basically sequences of calls to either an LLM or another utility. And it allows more than the complex language processing applications. Now the inputs as well as the outputs of an LLM in a chain can be manipulated through a set of standard interface methods provided by LangChain. And basically you can integrate LLMs as well as an input, and as well as have it as an output by having different responses set up with different methods. Now the standard interface method for an input and an output chain is as followed. We can see over here, which is an input, as this method allows for the processing of input data before it is passed to the LLM, and the input data is passed in a dictionary that can be modified before it's being returned. Now the post-process output is a method that allows for the post-processing of output data that is coming from an LLM, and the output data is passed in as a dictionary that can be modified before being returned. Now these LLMs as well as these methods can be modified through the input and the output interchangeably and within the chain to suit the best needs as well as for the particular application. Lastly, I want to focus on the last module, which is agent, and it's an end-to-end basic application that involves an LLM making decisions about which actions to take, taking the actions, as well as observing the results of an action and repeating them until it's done through different tools as well as different applications that are associated with LangChain itself. Now the agent interacts with the environment by taking actions as well as observing the outcomes using certain tools such as the search one that you can get through Google, as well as using different tools to actually facilitate certain tasks that might be used to actually create as well as basically follow through the application. Now the agent's behavior is typically modeled through a Markov decision process where the state of the environment is determined by the agent's actions as well as observations. Now, LangChain actually provides a standard interface for agents, including a selection of pre-built agents to choose from, as well as examples of an end-to-end agent that demonstrates how to implement agents in LangChain. And this is something that I actually talked about in my previous video, where Baby AGI is incorporated with LangChain to actually basically have its agents autonomously do certain tasks. But that's a whole different topic, guys, and that's just the gist of the modules of LangChain. And now we'll be focusing on the last aspect, which is the user use cases, as well as the conclusion of today's video. Now, in conclusion, LangChain is a powerful tool for building and deploying language models with modules that cover all aspects of the model development process. Now, its ease of use as well as flexibility makes it suitable for both beginners as well as experienced developers. Now, in the future, I believe that LangChain is likely to continue to evolve and expand its capabilities through incorporating new developments in natural language processing and machine learning. Now, with the increasing importance of language modules in the wide range of applications, I believe that LangChain is well positioned to become even more essential for tools as well as developers in the years to come. And personally, for me, this is something that I'm going to keep on using in the coming weeks, as well as demonstrating certain things that you can use with different modules and get a better idea of how to actually apply it with different cases. And that's basically the gist of today's video, guys. I hope you found this video very informative, something that I've been working on, and I might even release a part 2 as to how, as well as some of the actual basic, like going more in depth of the modules and how you can actually run it by creating your own module using certain LLMs. And with that thought, guys, I hope you found this video entertaining as well as informative. If you did, please subscribe, please like the video, and comment down anything that you want to see in the future. And if you guys haven't seen any of my previous videos, I would highly recommend that you do so. And with that thought, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you later. Peace out, fellas.